Today we continue to listen Silavanta Sutta. In answering Venerable Mahakotika's first two questions, Venerable Sariputra had said that the virtuous bhikkhu Silavata and instructed bhikkhu or knowledgeable bhikkhu Sutta should attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging as impermanence, as suffering, and so on. The reference to an Sutta instructed bhikkhu raised a question. How much knowledge does a meditator need before he or she can practice meditation? If you study the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, you may find that you have to know a lot before you practice vipassana meditation. At one time, Sakka, the kings of gods, asked the Buddha, how much knowledge a monk must have in order to practice and reach arahantship. Before practicing meditation, you need to know how much knowledge. If you want to become an arahant, how much knowledge you need to know? The Buddha answered, Ita bhikkhunō sabbe dhamma nālam bhinivedāyati. A bhikkhu has said that all dhammas, all things are not fit to be adhered to, all things are not fit to be clung to. When a bhikkhu has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to, he directly knows everything. This means that after hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be adhered to by craving or wrong view, you can practice meditation. That all things as all things are as all things are not to be taken as self or soul. If you know just this much, you can practice meditation. Okay. You do not have to know much about the teaching of the Buddha in order to practice vipassana meditation. So you get paragraph number 8. Can you follow me? How much knowledge a monk must have in order to practice and reach arahantship? How much knowledge a meditator must have in order to practice and reach arahantship? A meditator has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to. When a meditator has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to, he or she directly knows everything. After hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be clung to by craving or wrong view, he or she can practice meditation. All things are not to be taken. All things are not to be taken as permanence. All things are not to be taken as happiness. All things are not to be taken as self also. So if you understand, if you know that all things are not to be taken as nature, sukha, atta, permanence, happiness, and so, you can practice meditation. The commentary adds a little more. It says that if you know there are four noble truths, Dukkha Sitya, Samudaya Sitya, Nirodha, and Mega Sitya. And if you know that the first two, Dukkha and Samudaya Sitya, belong to the rounds of rebirth, Vita Sitya, and the other two, Nirodha and Mega Sitya, leads to release from the rounds of rebirth. You may practice only on the first two, Dukkha and Samudaya. If you know this much, you have your noble truths. Two are mundane, the other two are supramundane. When you practice vipassana, you deal only with the first two, which are mundane, dukkha sitya, the noble truth of suffering, samudaya sitya, the truth of the origin of suffering. Dukkha sitya have to be understood. You know dukkha, to understand the truth of dukkha, truth of suffering, you need to be aware of every phenomena occurring at the six and doors. To understand the suffering, you come to the center and to see the truth of suffering. Everything that are rising and disappearing continuously, rising and falling of the domain, breathing in and out, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, every phenomena you observe, hearing, we understand that they are suffering. A second noble truth, samudaya sitya, the truth of the origin of suffering, tanha or craving must be got rid of. To get rid of the origin of suffering, you try to see the true nature of the mind and matter of five aggregates. If you see that mind and matter of five aggregates are appearing and disappearing continuously, you have no craving or attachment with that. The third, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, Nirodha Sitya, Nibbana. The fourth, the noble truth of the suffering must be developed. Vega Sitya arises at the moment of your enlightenment, and it is the result of your teaching. If you know this much, you have enough knowledge to practice vipassana meditation. What about understanding paticca samuppada? What about understanding dependent origination? It has been explained in great detail in the Visuddhimagga. In this case, the sub-commentary is helpful. It says that if you know that there is a cause, and if you know that there are results of that cause, then you know paticca samuppada, you know dependent origination. Even if you don't know the details of dependent origination, if you know that there are causes and results of those causes, and if you know that they are related as cause and effect, you are said to virtually have knowledge of paticca samuppada, dependent origination. In brief, dependent origination teaches that mind and matter in beings, or the material and mental state in beings, always arise dependent on condition. According to this teaching, everything in our world is conditioned. So if you know only that there are conditions, and that there are those conditioned by those conditions, it is enough to say that you virtually understand dependent origination. For those who have no knowledge of the text and commentaries, but who have some ability to think, let us now consider this way. 2 months after his enlightenment, the fully enlightened Buddha gave his first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, to the group of 5 disciples. What do you think? The 5 disciples, Pinjavaggiya, already knew about such thing as the Four Noble Truths, the aggregates, bases, or dependent origination. They already knew about these things. Can you say that the 5 bhikkhus, Pinjavaggiya, knew Abhidhamma from previous knowledge? Some people might say, oh, the 5 bhikkhus, Pinjavaggiya had accumulated a lot of paramis, perfection, and many experience in the past life. They were special, they were gifted person. So when the Pinjavaggiya 5 bhikkhus heard the Buddha's sermon, all of that information might already have been in them. They might say, but we can say that the 5 disciples in Pinjavaggiya bhikkhu definitely did not possess any such knowledge. The discovery of the fully enlightened Buddha was unknown to any other human beings until Buddha gave the 5 disciples his first sermon at Isipatana. So the 5 disciples who had no prior knowledge of aggregates, dependent origination, and so forth, learned by listening to the Buddha's first sermon. As the result of listening to the Dhamma, all of them became Sotapanna, and a little later, the 5 Pinchavagiya, the 5 disciples of the Buddha, became Arahants. And let us take just one more example. Venerable Sariputta was not yet a Buddhist when he met the Venerable Assaji. At the time, Venerable Sariputta belonged to the sect of another teacher and knew very little about the teaching of the Buddha. But impressed by the demeanor of Venerable Assaji, he asked the Venerable Assaji to teach him something of the Dhamma. Venerable Assaji uttered an instructive verse of 4 lines, and after listening to just the first 2 lines of that verse, Sariputta became a Sotapanna, and not long afterwards, he became a disciple of the Buddha. As Sariputta was the most gifted person after the Buddha, it was not difficult for him to get this knowledge the moment he received the teaching from the Venerable Assaji. However, we are not so gifted as the 5 disciples Pinchavagiya, or we are not gifted as the Venerable Sariputta. And we are here more than 2,500 years after the Buddha, so we should be allowed some concession. And you should know something about the teaching of the Buddha, but not very much. If you know that there are 5 aggregates, there are mind and matter, they are impermanent. Mind and matter are suffering, and mind and matter are non-self. If you know that there are 4 noble truths, if your heart read or already know those things, you can practice vipassana meditation. Knowledge of the aggregates is very helpful because you can verify your practice with what you already know. When you practice meditation, you experience many things, and sometimes you don't know what they are. But if you have sound knowledge of the all aggregates, you will know what is happening to you and what you are experiencing. Then you will be like a person who has read a map before going somewhere, before going to the forest, where you are there, you know where you are and where to go, because you have read a map. Also, since you are practicing under the guidance of the teacher, it is enough if you have just a little bit of information about the teaching of the Buddha. Your teacher can give you enough information about the 5 aggregates, Namarupa, mind and matter, and so forth. So it is all right for you to practice vipassana meditation, even if you have not read the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, even if you do not know Abhidhamma. Your teachers will supply you with this kind of knowledge and whatever else is necessary to know. Yeah, we are not saying this to discourage you from studying the teaching of the Buddha. It is very good to study Buddhism. It is good to know what the Buddha taught. But if you are bent on practice, we want you to know that it is possible for you to practice right now, even without detailed knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha. But if you want to share your knowledge with other people, to your family, if you hope to be a teacher in the future, or if you are a teacher now, then certainly you will need to acquire wide knowledge, the teaching of the Buddha. Now we will return to the answer given by the Venerable Sariputta when he said that a virtuous meditator, an instructed or knowledgeable yogi should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, which are impermanent, suffering, disease, non-self, etc. The commentary said that we should know three things regarding nature, impermanence. What is it that is impermanent? We say impermanent, but what is it that we say is impermanent? And what are the signs, what are the marks of being impermanent? We should know the characteristics, marks or signs of impermanence. And what is repeated scenes of impermanence? What is anicca? What is anicca lakkhana? What is anicca nipassana? What is it that is impermanent? When we say impermanent, what do we mean by that? You already know the answer. The five aggregates are impermanent. Every minor matter or psychophysical phenomena are impermanent. And the five aggregates of minor matter are taught by the Buddha as impermanent. You have yet to see that this is true, but through your practice of vipassana meditation, impermanence will eventually be seen. So what is it that is impermanent? You answer, all five aggregates. Not just the five aggregates of clinging. You need to know there is difference between aggregates and aggregates of clinging. Khanda and upadana khanda are different. When we say aggregates of clinging, we mean only the mundane aggregates. But when we say aggregates, the supramundane aggregates are also included. So both mundane and supramundane aggregates are impermanent. Path consciousness belongs to the supramundane aggregates. It also belongs to the consciousness aggregates and to the supramundane level. But path consciousness arises and disappears immediately, to be followed by fruition consciousness after megajita, phalajita arise. Fruition consciousness again disappears immediately. So types of consciousness that are included in the supermundane aggregate are also impermanent. So when we speak of impermanence, we mean that everything in our world is impermanent. But in the language of Buddhist book, we say the five aggregates instead of everything in the world. Why do we say that the five aggregates are impermanent? What can we see that causes us to say they are impermanent? There must be signs or there must be characteristics that point to their impermanence. These signs are like flags by which we understand that the five aggregates are impermanent. We all know those characteristics. According to the Visuddhimagga, rise, fall, and change are the characteristics of impermanence. You need to see the characteristics of impermanence. You observe the object arising and gone, falling, and totally changed. So this is a characteristic of impermanence. Look at your paper, page number 3, number 9. Can you follow me? Rise, fall, and change. Rise, fall, and change are the characteristics of impermanence. Rise, fall, and change are the characteristics of impermanence. Rise, fall, and change are the characteristics of impermanence. First, there is rising, then there is what is called change, becoming different, or aging. After aging, gone. There is falling, there is disappearing. In watching your aggregates, you see that they arise, last for a few brief moments, and then disappear. When you see that they constantly arise, change, and disappear, you know from these characteristics or signs that the aggregates are impermanent. The mind and matter are impermanent. And you know that the characteristics of impermanence are rise, fall, and change. You may be familiar with the three stages of existence: arising, staying for a time, and then disappearing. They are known as the three sub-moments of one thought moment. When you see a state of mind arise, stay for a time, and then disappear. You hear the sounds and the hearing consciousness. Hearing might arise, stay for a time, and then disappear. And you know that this state of impermanence, this knowing or seeing that something is impermanent must come from your own experience. It must not come from a book. It must not come from your teacher. That knowledge must come from within yourself. So do not be satisfied with what you read in the book. Do not be satisfied with what you hear in the Dhamma talk. You must see for yourself. So we will continue tomorrow. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, where you see the true characteristics, impermanence, suffering, and non-self nature of all psychophysical phenomena, by practicing rising, falling, sitting, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing continuously and meticulously, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.